Welcome to this episode of Backstage Safari. I'm Matt Gebhardt.
And I'm Jacob Oline for 6 News, and this is Clara, the senior bird and small mammal keeper here at the Cameron Park Zoo. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're about to see?
So what we're going to see today is basically how we raise some of our babies. We're going to go kind of backwards. We're going to go from the what we call the nursery area, and then back to our smaller babies, and then y'all will get a chance to see our brooder room in the back as well.
Awesome.
All right, here we go.
So we are behind the scenes in our what we call our brooder room. This is where we have our incubation and our hatcher, and where the babies start out for the first couple of days. So we've got our GQF. We've got an incubator and a hatcher, and what we do is in the incubator, the eggs are turned in there. They're kept at a certain humidity and a certain temperature. And we monitor them, and then a couple of days before they're due to hatch, they go into what we call our hatcher, which is basically, they look pretty similar. It's just a way for us to keep them more humid and to keep their temperature up and allow them to have a good hatch. Low temperature, low humidity, they're not going to hatch out as easy, so we keep it nice and humid in here. Right now they're at about 45% humidity in the incubator. When they move to the hatcher, we'll have that up in the high 80s or even 90% humidity in order for them to hatch out okay. And then after they've been in the hatcher for about 24 hours and let them fluff a little bit, then we would move them out here into what we call our NICUs, which this is just a kind of a little bit fancier hatcher. We can control the humidity and the temperature in here. And this we usually give the babies a couple of days just to kind of get their feet under them a little bit before we put them onto water, depending on what kind of baby it is. If it's a duckling, of course, we want to get them on water as soon as possible. Other birds might stay in this unit right here until they're almost fledged or almost ready to be treated like an adult bird.
And what all kinds of birds do you hatch here?
In the time that I've been here, we have done quarry bustards, we have done roseate spoonbills, we do turacos, red-crested turacos, and then of course the ducklings and the waterfowl. We have many different kinds of those.
And are the eggs laid by other birds that you already have here, or do you get eggs in from other places?
Both. So the eggs that I have in the incubator right now were all laid here, and then the babies that y'all will see in just a little bit, we actually got those as eggs from the Panola Conservatory, and we got those transported here, and we did the last little bit of their incubation here, and got them all hatched out here from Panola. So.
About how long does the incubation process typically take?
It depends. Some birds, like a turaco, very short, matter of like 3 weeks. Some birds are more like, almost 2 or 3 months. It just depends on the bird. Yeah.
And then where do they go from here?
From here, if it is a duckling, we're going to go to our wet brooders, and then I can take y'all. That's another room on the other side of the zoo.
All right, let's go.
So this is where our ducklings would go. This is called a wet brooder. So when we want to get our babies right on water right away, we would move them into here. And as you can see, we've got in this one, we have got a 1-month-old merganser and a 1-month-old North American ruddy duckling in here. And they will be moved out of this by next week into a little bit larger area.
Are they playing right now, or?
They're scared.
Okay.
Yeah, they're scared. Yeah. So we've got those, and then in this wet brooder over here, we've got some wood ducks that are roughly the same age, roughly about a month old. And as you can tell, ducklings are very messy. These guys get completely cleaned out once a day. Everything pulled out, everything scrubbed down, everything fresh, and they get fed 4 times a day.
What do they typically eat?
So we have them on a waterfowl starter right now from Missouri, and that is basically, it's a little tiny pelleted granule, and they get a fresh plate of that. They get it also in the water as well, since these are more of diving ducks. They prefer to spend more of their time in the water. And then we also give them bloodworms, which is, it's a frozen, it's fish food. It's a cube, it's frozen. We give them that once or twice a day depending, just to help them grow nice and healthy. And then they get greens a couple of times a day as well. Like I said, we're up here at least 4 times a day, either just checking or feeding or cleaning or doing something with these guys.
And do all of the bird species come through here at some point, or is this more specifically
This is more
for the
specific
ducks?
to ducks.
Okay.
Even like our roseate spoonbills, which are a shorebird, they would be more on dry land their entire infancy. That makes sense, infancy, but anyway, yeah.
I know you kind of touched on it. How long do they typically stay in these?
Well, as you can tell, they're already kind of outgrowing these a little bit. So it just kind of depends on the duckling and where they have to go next and what area they're going to go in. These are too small to go in our walk-through aviary where they would normally be. So from here we would move them into a larger brooder. We have a couple of these big black ones here. Or we would move them into like a kiddie pool situation with dry land and docking and just a larger stall situation. We would pull like the stuff out of here and put a kiddie pool in. Yeah.
I noticed y'all had some music playing when we first came in. Do y'all play music for the animals while they're in here?
What it is it helps desensitize them because these guys, it's pretty quiet in this part of the zoo. So we want them to get used to noise and we want them to get used to activity. So yeah, we do leave the radio on quite a bit for them. We'll also bring in things that are like different colored enrichment items just to get them used to seeing a lot of different things so they're not scared of everything. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed when we walked in, I was making a lot of noises because it's very scary for them if you just pop over the edge all of a sudden. So I kind of talk to them and just let them know that we're here before we pop over the edge, so they're a little less likely to be nervous. But of course, this age, everything's scary. Yeah, but from here, we actually have a temporary exhibit set up. So these guys will get moved to that temporary exhibit hopefully next week where they can grow up a little bit more. And we actually have some babies over there right now, so we'll go over there next and we'll show you our nursery area for the bigger babies. Yeah. Okay, so right now we have this exhibit space for our use as a temporary diving duck exhibit. So we have moved some of the bigger babies that would have been in those wet brooders that y'all saw earlier. We have moved them into here. So these are our 2-month-old wood ducklings. We have 3 of those. The one in the middle is a pintail. He's an older duck that got moved in here just to kind of get the little ducklings used to everything. And then we have 2 redhead ducklings in here as well. So next week, all those little babies are going to get moved into here as well, where they'll grow up for a little bit more. And then when they're fully grown and we can put them in our walk-through aviary. Our walk-through aviary does have pelicans in it, so we want to make sure that these guys are pretty big, so nobody picks on them at all before they move into that aviary. So we were lucky enough that we can use this space right now as our temporary diving duck holding space. If we did not have this space right now, those little babies would just be moved into larger kiddie pool situations. But this is absolutely perfect for them. It showcases exactly how they dive down, how they would forage in the wild. And of course, you really can't see that in our other walk-through aviary. If we're lucky, maybe one of the babies would dive, but it's kind of getting nap time for everybody. They kind of settle down for a few hours in the middle of the day.
And do the keepers typically feed them by just dropping food into the water and letting them dive? Or what
we do right now is we've got 2 plates on land that have our dry pellets in, and 4 times a day I'll go in there and I'll feed out greens and I'll feed out a little bit of pellet into the water, but that's mostly on the surface. Right now they're just kind of diving just for the sheer interesting.
Just for the fun of it?
Yeah, I really, can't really say fun. But yeah, they're learning. So right now they're diving, they're learning, they're figuring out, how their body works basically. And the redheads, they'll dive down and they'll go through all the gravel and just look for anything. And they've already eaten all the little tiny snails that were in here. They've already cleared those out. But we don't want to put a lot of food in the water, so we don't want to make it really gross in here. But they will still do some of that diving with just that little bit that we do, yeah.
And you said after they're finished here, they'll move to the walk-through aviary. Do the ducks, or I guess all of the birds, typically spend their whole lives here at the zoo? Do they rotate between other places?
It depends on the birds. Since these birds came from Panola as eggs, these particular ones, they will stay here probably their entire life. We work with the SSPs, we work with other zoos on transferring birds around. So there's always the possibility that some of these could go to a different zoo, but we just, we have them as long as we can, and if they have to get shipped out, yeah, it's sad for the keepers sometimes, but it's always in the best interest of the animal. So yeah, if they say, hey, we need to move these guys to a different zoo for breeding or whatever, we'll be like, that's great. They got a recommendation, we'll move them. But these hopefully will get to stay here their entire lives. Yeah.
And do you typically feed the adult ones here in this pen the same kind of things you fed them when they were younger, or how does?
So they've just upgraded to the adult version of that baby food, which it's a little lower protein, and it's a little bit bigger pellet.
Okay.
So yeah, they've taken right to it. They get their greens. I usually put their greens all in the water for them, and I'll shred those up nice and small, and they'll just swim around, and they'll just they'll kind of do their thing. And I'll put a little bit of the pellet in the water a couple times a day, but it's easier and it stays more hygienic if we can keep it all on dry land at least.
And you mentioned once they get bigger, they'll go to the walk-through aviary. Is there a set way that y'all determine which ones go to the aviary or which ones stay here? Is it all just based on size? It
kind of just depends on how long we're able to have this space as a temporary. As long as we can have this space as a temporary, they'll be here for public viewing on this level. And then when we don't have this space, then they will all go back to the walk-through aviary, where you'll be able to see them, but you're just looking down at them from above, instead of looking at them at eye level this way. Yeah.
What else has this space been used for?
This has normally been an aquarium space for a riverbank perch, carp, gar, that kind of stuff, native turtles.
Okay.
Yeah, they're having to do a little bit of a reboot on the filtration system, so they had to pull everybody out of this exhibit. But the ducks don't need the filtration like a fish would, so we were able to use it as a temporary space. Yeah.
Any kind of final thoughts or other factoids about the ducks or the small mammals?
Well, I mean, as far as these guys go, they are native. It's just really hard for people to usually see them in the wild because they are very secretive. They're always on the lookout for predators and things. So it's really nice that people have the opportunity to see them here, and they can get this close to them and see them dive and see all that natural behavior, and hopefully really get kind of a connection with them, and then hopefully that connection helps them realize that, hey, if I leave my yard a little bit more wild, it's better for the animals than having a nice, pristine, mowed lawn. And if I help protect my native habitats just in my own area, that I can help protect these guys in the long run.
Well, thank you for talking to us and showing us all of that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah.
It's been great learning about everything.